Hi, I am Tatiana Michelet and I'm talking astrology. So this video is about the eclipse on the 7th of September. So first of all, this is a huge karmic month and the events are already and will continue to unfold quickly in this September month. Because what happened during eclipses has long-term and important quick effect. So as you can see, the eclipse is here at 15 Pisces. It's a full moon eclipse, and as it's a full moon, surely the sun is in at 15 Virgo, opposite to it, next to Mercury, who is in Virgo, exalted in its own sign, and so Mercury is strong in this eclipse. And for you personally, know that uh, you are going to feel much more emotional with the full moon in Pisces. Everyone is going to feel more emotional, much more irrational and hyper reactive than usual. So, a lot of people are going to be overtaken and overwhelmed by feelings. And so be aware that some people might not be thinking clearly. Um, so, for example, like you might say something completely innocent and then you might trigger someone. So just keep that in mind as the months unfold. And yeah, it would be good to be careful while being around people, and be ready like to try to keep the peace. And then on top of it, as you can see, Uranus is not retrograde, and Uranus started to go retrograde like literally last night. So this is now, and then Uranus is here, and then that's what we're going back 1 day. We're going back 2 days. So yeah, about like 5 of September. So as I'm talking right now, it's the 5th of September. So yeah, Uranus just went retrograde at the same time as this full moon eclipse. So Uranus rules explosions. I mean, it doesn't have to be like literal explosions. It could be explosion of inconvenient truths that come out, for example. So the other thing that's happening around the time of this eclipse, and so it's kind of going to bring the theme, of Uranus that is stationing retrograde in Gemini at this eclipse. So it's all like encapsulated in the eclipse. The fact that this event is now. Uranus in Gemini is going to be retrograding in Gemini for the first time since it entered the sign of Gemini. So the fact that this is happening at the same time as a full moon and at the same time as a full moon eclipse means that the feeling of the retrograde is going to be very loud. So that's what I'm saying. So it's good to like, try to like perceive what the theme is right now, uh, in the Gemini house of your chart, and see what kind of vibe Uranus is going to bring for you all along this transit in Gemini. Because like now we are feeling the Uranus effect much more around this eclipse. And yeah, it's a bit difficult to discern what's the effect of the eclipse and the effect of Uranus, but know that it's there. Uranus in Gemini. The main themes are transportation and communication. So this eclipse is at 15 degrees and 23 minutes. And know that some unexpected and surprising information or documents will come to light at this time. Something that was unsaid or unseen is now going to be emerging, to be seen and felt as real. So know that whatever this information is, it's going to be very inspiring. So that's the positive thing about this eclipse. Although the information might be, yeah, unexpected, maybe shocking, but it's inspiring. So also, what's good to know is that when the eclipses affect us, they tend to give long-term memorable effects. And if you have anything within 5 degrees of Pisces, you will feel this eclipse the most. So like you said, 15, let's say you have something at 10, 10 to 20 of Pisces, and then the same on the opposite way in Virgo, and then on the squares of Sagittarius and Gemini. That's how you be most affected. But anyone who has any planets or important points like your ascendant or your midheaven, for example, in those degrees around 15 of the mutable signs, then know that yeah, you still feel it. Anyone who feel it in the Pisces house anyway, and also it impacts the opposite of Virgo as well. So in this Virgo and Pisces axis, we're all going to feel it to some extent. But yes, the closer the eclipse falls to an important point or a planet in your chart, the stronger the effect is going to be for you. So what the effects are going to be is that things that have been building up now for a period of time, and anything that's been lurking under the surface is coming up to completion at this moment in time. And when the eclipse comes, basically we cannot do anything about it. We just have to let the event unfold. Sometimes what can happen is that, yes, you can make new efforts in new directions, but most of the time with the eclipses, it's out of your control. Because although we have some free will, uh, the eclipse are fated events, most likely. So keep that in mind. So again, this is a full moon total lunar eclipse, and therefore it is very powerful. Lunar eclipses energies are very powerful, and but they are different from the solar eclipses, because the solar eclipses are usually more like external events that happen to us. And here we're talking about lunar eclipse, which means that the events are going to be more internal. So we might feel like some chaotic events internally, and that also relates to the sign of Pisces, which is chaotic as well. So that means that this eclipse is very emotionally overwhelming, and there might be such a big wave of feelings, and it might be a bit hard to like process all of it at once. The good news is that Jupiter is supporting this eclipse with a trine to the moon, and Jupiter in Cancer, we know that it's exalted, and so that means that it can do a lot of good for us, and Jupiter brings like faith, hope, luck, trust, and most importantly at this time, some creative inspiration. That means that with this trine to the moon in Pisces from Cancer, that will help us, to ease our feelings at this eclipse, and also whatever events happen, will be supported by Jupiter with the trine to the moon, and also the trine to the North Node here at 18, and then a trine to Saturn as well at 29 critical degrees. of ending in Pisces. So yes, it's nice to have Jupiter exalted in Cancer training this eclipse, but however, it's not all like unicorns and rainbows, because there is also another pattern that's happening, and this is you see that we have Jupiter squared by Mars, Mars square Jupiter, and then Mars opposite Chiron. So there is like a cardinal T square here. And so also we have to bear in mind that the moon is conjunct with Saturn. In any case, they are in the same sign, so and that the moon conjunct Saturn is quite harsh, and it brings a painful separation. So it's a difficult feeling, difficult event that is also happening. And yes, and Chiron and Mars, is quite painful as well. With Chiron, what we can, how we can use Chiron is that yes, it's where we have Chiron in our chart, it's like a painful point. It's like something that cannot be healed. But ironically, what is painful, you know, if we talk about this moment in time now, uh, for everyone in the collective, Chiron is here at the same spot, 26 of Aries. So this is what is painful and what cannot be healed. So it is what we cannot heal in ourselves, but it is also how we can empathize and heal in others who have the same wounding as ourselves. So it's like, for example, in our own chart where we have Chiron, we can't heal it for ourselves, but we know a lot about this wounding, and so we can actually heal others. But our own wound is not going to, ever be completely healed. However, the benefit of having this wound is that it gives us a gift of foresight and also some healing capacities, some healing gifts. And then once we have a lot of experience of using Chiron and getting used to of how to utilize it for our own benefit, it can become a great tool in our life. So it's not all gloom and doom with Chiron. And I talk about this because I have Chiron onto an important point in my chart. So I understand Chiron very well. And I think that over time, I realized there's actually a lot of blessings that comes with Chiron. But anyhow, back to now, I'm talking that, I'm saying this because a lot of people talk about how it's all, how could we say that? Everything is seen as through pink glasses because of this Jupiter trining the moon. But in the background, we still have this like Mars opposite Chiron and the square to Jupiter, which, inflate it, expand this wand with Mars, that can be painful. So it's still there in the background of this, full moon eclipse. That's what I'm saying. And also, as we know, because it's a full moon, there is the moon in Pisces opposite the sun in Virgo, and that is what we call a full moon. It's when the moon opposites the sun, like here. Also, it's worth noting that Mercury is in Virgo in its own sign. So it rules the signs of Virgo, also Gemini, but now he's in Virgo, so we're talking about Virgo, where he is exalted. So for now, this means that although it's a highly emotional period, we are able to logically assess, the situation in which we find ourselves right now. And the axis of Pisces and Virgo and Pisces, which oppose each other. So this axis is one of the most complex. So this is why these are complex times. Because this is one of the most complex axes of the entire wheel, and one of the two most complex signs of the entire wheel. Very difficult to understand fully, the sign of Pisces. So this is all about physical health in Virgo, vs the mental health in Pisces. So it's all about finding balance and equilibrium in between those two signs, between the spiritual, the blurry and confusing, unseen, dreamy-like sign of Pisces, and then on the other side, we have the practical daily reality, aspect of our life with Virgo. So right now we are all, juggling those two polarities. And overall, the mood of this eclipse can be feeling like it's too emotionally overwhelming because of the Pisces vibe on one side, and then on the other side, with Mercury, the Sun, and the South Node in Virgo, we are able to analyze the past, events, our past actions and behaviors with discernment of how we have done, things previously in the Virgo area of our lives. So also it's worth noting that Mercury and the Sun, are going to pass in front of the South Node. The South Node, it's about purging, about things we are used to doing, how we always do things, on autopilot, what feels comfortable to us. And yeah, when there is like a transit like that, it's about purging something. It can be also about loss, you know. So yeah, if you think that Mercury and the Sun are going to go through this purging and then come back on the other side, and things, that we know now or are now will be different on the other side. And that will be on the 12th of September, when both Mercury and the Sun would have passed the South Node. Amazing. So, and to conclude, the harsh event, should I say, of this full moon lunar eclipse is the fact that Saturn is now, at 29 degrees, the last degrees, the critical degrees of crisis, of something that has to be done, and completed once and for all. The chapter has to be closed. So we see that Saturn is at the end of Pisces. And Pisces itself is a sign of closure because it's the last sign, out of the 12. So there is a second element, that talks to us about closure. And I mean, this is for next time, but then you will see that on the 21st of September, when there will be the other eclipse, it's going to also be at 29 degrees, opposing Saturn nearly exactly. So, that's a clear, all of that, of these two eclipses are a clear sign, of the thing has to be completed, it's going to be completed. and it's all about closure right now. So yeah, so what I'm saying is that we are in the process of closing what Saturn has been doing in Pisces for the last about 2.5 years, and that it's about to come to completion. That means that there is a breakdown or loss of a foundation, right now. That's why, like I said, it's not all gonna be feel, too good, because it's, no one wants to like see something breaking down or losing anything. And know that we have now until early next year when Saturn will get back into Aries to close that chapter of our lives in Pisces. So whatever this is for you in Pisces, that would depend, according to your specific birth chart. So if you don't know your birth chart, it would be good for you to get one. You can get one from my website. You can get one from many places on the internet. But for example, let's say if you were a Gemini, then that will be in your 10th house. So this could be something to do with your career and your reputation. Or if you were, let's say, a Virgo, it's in your 7th house, so that will be to do with your relationships. Maybe something is ending in your relationships. For example, if you're a Sagittarius, then that will be a closure in your 4th house of your home, of with family matters. And if you are a Pisces, then the spotlight is all on you, it's all to do with your identity, your appearance, your vitality, something will change about how you appear to other, let's say. So that's for the 4 signs, like I said, who are the most impacted by these eclipses, right? But in any case, to conclude, we can say that for everyone, something is going to come to an end, and whatever will remain, it's something that will last for a long time, because this involves Saturn, and yes, Saturn is painful, but what's good about Saturn is that the results that it brings last for a long time, and then no one can take it from you. It's like with Saturn, it's hard to get something, but if you get something, it means that you deserved it. It was not just easily given to you, and then you just don't value it. So whatever you are going through, if you are losing something, if something is ending, most likely, not for everyone, for unfortunately, but most likely for a lot of us, something will remain in our life, something new, will come, or something new is already there, and that thing is going to last for a long time to come, because thank you to Saturn. However, again, because it's Saturn, whatever stays with us, that will require us to work at it with discipline and self-development. So we have to keep improving it over time and to commit to whatever is the thing that we have now to replace what is gone. So like I said, the positive, to conclude on a high note, is that there is something else that will come out of that difficult loss, and this replacement will last for a long time, because it is the law of nature that as soon as something ends, that energy transforms into something else. So I wrote this here because it is the law of nature that as soon as something ends, that energy transforms into something else. And this quote, "There is nothing permanent except change," from Heraclitus. So bear that in mind And then thank you for watching. And then if you want to know how this eclipse in Pisces is affecting your chart, you can click the link in the description, and you'll see I wrote about this on my website on my monthly September astrology forecast for the 12 sign. And I wish you a happy weekend. Bye bye for now. Bye.